Okay, just a quick video today. I want to talk about cleaning records using a particular technique. I'll go into it in a moment, but you'll hear that this record needs a good clean because of all the crackles and pops. You might remember this particular disc. This is the Trimicron record. This was that one that held an extra long amount of audio per side, up to 60 minutes on each side, and it achieved this by having an extra fine groove on it. If we have a look at it under this microscope, which is pretty hopeless, I bought this off eBay, I don't think I'll be using it again, but you can just about make out the groove on there. This is really as close as I can get to it and still get it in focus. You can see a few white dots on here as well, which I presume is some sort of dirt or dust. Now, if we keep the microscope in the same position and swap in a normal LP with this one, you'll be able to make out the groove a lot clearer. We haven't moved in at all, but it just shows you the difference between the two. This one is also pretty dirty as well. So let's try cleaning both of these. We'll start with the Trimicron though. This is the reason I wanted to test this cleaning technique out, because the groove is so fine on here, anything else that I've tried in it just hasn't worked. So I thought it's a good opportunity to test this thing out, the Recopack DC-203 from Nagaoka. Now, the way this works is you pour liquid onto the surface of a record using an applicator, let it set overnight, peel it off, and it's supposed to bring off the dirt and dust with it. Now, if that sounds familiar, it's because it's an awful lot like cleaning records using the wood glue technique. And if that's something you haven't heard of, then just search for wood glue and records. You'll find over 100 YouTube videos detailing that process. Now, this is more of a commercialisation of that. And it is a commercialisation because, look, €45. And that will only do 30 applications. So effectively that's 15 records if you're cleaning both sides. Inside the box you'll find 2 record stands and the container of liquid. This holds 480 millilitres of the stuff. Apparently it's not poisonous, but you're not supposed to drink it. It's water soluble, so you can wash it off anything that you get it on that you don't want it on. Oh, and in the bottom of here you've got these pieces of paper that you attach to the surface of the record to help you peel that off when it turns into a film. And here's the plastic applicator. So of course, you put a record in between these two, but the idea is you fill up the reservoir at the end and then you rotate this around on the record and it deposits the liquid onto the surface nice and neatly. Of course, you can see there's a slot in the bottom there for it to come out through. Now, if you're interested in following along with me, there's the pictures, there's the instructions, but I'll demonstrate how I went about doing this. You put the record on the support, put the applicator on the top, and then it says to pour the fluid quickly into the applicator up to the index line. Well, it didn't pour. It's much thicker than that. It's kind of a gel type stuff. It's a similar consistency to liquid hand soap. You have to squeeze the bottle to get it in there. But once you've got it up to that index line, the idea is you then rotate the applicator slowly around the record and it deposits that onto the disc. But of course, as you can imagine, it's a little bit too thick to go through the slot on the bottom of there. At least it was in my experience. So it's not applying it to the record as it should do. You're supposed to do a rotation in about 10 seconds, but it just wasn't coming out to the bottom at all. Looking at the information, it says that it might vary its viscosity depending upon the temperature. Well, I've just got normal 70-degree room temperature in here, so I wasn't expecting it to be this thick. As you can see, it's not coming out to the bottom here, so instead I gave up with that applicator and just decided to spread it around with my fingers instead. After all, it's not toxic. You can wash it off your fingers fine. It's water soluble and you can clean that applicator out easily as well, so there's no problem with that. But yeah, it didn't really work as it should have done, but it's covered the surface now, so a matter of putting a piece of that paper on there and leaving it overnight. Perhaps if I was doing this again, I should put this in a bowl of warm water. Maybe that would just make the liquid a little bit thinner so it would spread around better. But anyway, the next day I went back to the record and it had set as it was supposed to do. It doesn't look pretty, but it doesn't matter. It has covered the whole surface of the disc. So pulling the piece of paper that I put on the side there to start to peel the film off. It takes a little bit of care just to make sure that you get the whole thing off in one go. You don't want to leave loads of bits of this behind that you then have to remove later on. But I hadn't quite managed to get everything. Just on the edges, there's a few bits left there. But once you get it about halfway through, you can peel it off, and hopefully then this has pulled off any dirt along with the film. But we're pushing it a little bit here, trying it on a tri-micron, and maybe it's a little bit too thick to get into that groove. Of course, now I'm contaminating the record by pulling these extra bits off at the edge, but you really don't want your stylus running across those. It looks nice and clean now. Well, I say I can still see a few little white dots, but a lot less than before. So I think we should just give it a test. That could be a scratch, so let's try it a little bit further into the record. Yeah, I think we can call that an unmitigated failure. So I know if I don't do it, someone will say, well, how would it have worked with a normal record? Well, since it didn't work with a tri-micron, I think it's only worth trying it. So I picked out another record. This is one of the sort of test records I use, which is one that I don't care about at all. Tried to do it extra slow this time. I'd warmed this stuff up a little bit in my hand, and it did spread it around a little bit better, but you can see we've still got big gaps on there where it hasn't covered it. So again, I had to smear it around with my fingers. I mean, this isn't what it's supposed to work like, but again, left it another day, peeled it off, took the little bits off the edge, which we didn't want on there, and it looks nice and clean. So let's do a comparison. I recorded some audio off it before I cleaned it and then some from after. So have a listen. So I'm going to put that down as a failure as well. I really couldn't hear any difference between those two either. So for me, this has not worked out. Whether or not you want to try it for yourself is up to you, but it is expensive. When you think it's like €45 to clean 15 records, I think you've got better options out there. But anyway, that's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.